Welcome back to Captain of Industry Update 3, where we've definitely made so much progress in the beginning of this series, so don't hesitate to check in the video description below if you want to see it all. In particular, in the last episode, we built kind of late game, very advanced and using everything that's at our disposal to make the perfect waste management system, both for the wastewater and the actual, the waste of the waste collection. This is also providing all of the water that our people are drinking, and this is all doing this basically with zero inputs. I mean, the amount of inputs is very low. For example, we have just a bit of limestone on this side, and on that side we have just a bit of coal and a bit of rocks. I think these are the only two inputs for the whole thing, on top of course of the seawater pumps over here. And this is creating also zero pollution. There's no pollution at all from those things, completely self-sufficient on their own, so love it. At the end of the last episode, this used to be here. I just moved it next to it, so it creates a whole block and we have more space here. Now for this episode, to be honest, it took me a while to decide what to do. Not because I didn't know what to do or that there was nothing to do, it was almost the opposite. There is too many things to do. There's too many things to do. And on top of this, also the one thing I really wanted to do, I can't really do yet because we don't really have the space over here yet to do it. We're gonna need to, take all of this out. I mean, I could potentially do it over here on this space there. Oh, potentially I could do it there actually, sorry. No, maybe not. Anyway, all that to say that it took me a while, but I have finally decided. At the end of last episode, I mentioned that, our steel production was just barely keeping up. You can see that this is full, but this is empty. So when, when we are building big things and we have to construct new construction parts, then my steel production is just not keeping up. This was, a steel production that already had 7 of those blast furnace level 2. So that was pretty big, right? But this was the maximum we could do when we had access to the U-shaped conveyor tier 2. Now we have the tier 3, right? So we can do way bigger. And that's what we've started to do over here. Let me show you the ultimate end game steel production. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't read the title or saw the thumbnail, you're in for the surprise because we're gonna do something else in this episode. Instead of having 8, we have 18. So yeah, that's a way bigger one. Why 18, you ask? Well, because 18 is basically the number you can do with 2 mark tier 3, right? Tier 3 U-shaped conveyor belts. So with that, I can do 18 basically. I could potentially get it to 19, but 19 is not the right number. I prefer to have 9 and 9 on each side. And this is also where we're gonna start using a lot more of the late game buildings. For example, instead of creating steam with an actual boiler, we're going to leverage the steam load that comes out of the exhaust scrubber into those thermal desalinator with the steam low to create our water and our brine. So again, this is something that basically has zero pollution and very little inputs. I mean, of course we will need the iron ore as input. We will need also a couple of other things, but pretty much nothing else, and it's not creating a lot of outputs. I have also built it connected to tier 8 cargo depot, so the maximum level of the cargo depot. It's not built right now because this is for the future. In the future we'll be able to go into contracts. I mean, we could do it now. I'm just saying I don't need to do it now because we still have, look at this, these are my reserves of iron. There's tons of iron, there's still a lot of iron there. There's actually also a lot of iron over here. There is a lot of iron over here. So there is so much iron. I don't need to play with contracts, at least for iron yet, but in the future we can definitely, right? In particular, I think the one we will probably go for is this one here, where you give 107 vehicle parts level 2 and you get 1500 iron ore. And with that, you can do a lot, right? You can definitely do a lot more than what it costed you. So that is pretty good. And yes, that's what, you know, this will be all about. And in the future, we put the vehicle parts here, they are sent into the ship, and the ship comes back with ton of iron ore, and then that iron ore is then, you know, crushed. In the meantime, for now, I have put, if you wish, this temporary iron ore deposit here that just goes back here. So let's go. Basically, as I said, it starts here or there, then it goes into 5 of these large crusher. Then this large crusher, you know, with 2 belts, because 1 is not enough, we're creating a huge amount, right? So with 2 belts, we're going to then go input here into that guy, right? You can see the first input is over here, and the second is in the back. And then we have 2 outputs to go into a pipe balancer, because we're saying the priority is, of course, you know, the iron scrap over here in the future, and then 2 exit, as I said, right? 450 on each side. There is also 2 other belts at the bottom. One is level tier 3, one is tier 2, and that's enough. This is one for the coal and one for the limestone. Yes, again, I know that potentially, you know, you're gonna say, no, you should move to the arc furnaces, and especially we have even unlocked the arc furnaces level 2, but I personally think this is not worth it at all. Like, to trade 15 of coal for 3 graphite, but to then have to pay, you know, a huge amount of electricity, because these guys, right, consume where is it, 6 megawatts of electricity and tier 2 maintenance. Like, this is huge. This is huge. Plus I need to bring water. Of course, you could say, no, the water is gonna be created by the steam law, but it just doesn't help me. The only good thing with this is obviously you create less exhaust, but as you'll see just now, I am transforming all my exhaust into useful things, not into bad things. So yeah, we're using, you know, the blast furnace level 2. You can see over here, right, level 0, 1, and 2. We have the exit of the slag that comes over here at the top level, and we have the exhaust into that pipe here, right? That creates 48 of molten iron, goes into our oxygen furnace with a bit of oxygen that comes from this oxygen air separator, because these things really don't cost that much, right? 6 people, 400 kilowatts, that's really nothing. And anyway, this is needed in any case, regardless of what you choose. There is only one other way to make electricity, to make oxygen, which is over here with the electrolyzer 2, but these cost a lot more, right? We're talking about 1.1 and maintenance level 2 for this, actually less, because this one is 36 of oxygen, this one is 32. The only good thing is obviously you create hydrogen, which you could say could be used for other things, but yeah, definitely all good there. And this will create a bit more exhaust, which will go into this pipe there, and will also create the molten steel, which then, you know, with water is transformed into steel. So the idea is with, you know, all of them, you know, kind of, if I build the whole thing, those 18, right, we're gonna have 2 inputs of tier 3, and given that we go from 48 at the beginning to 24 for each line, this is just 1 belt tier 3 at the end. So we're gonna produce something like 450 basically of steel when the whole thing is working. So that's definitely a huge production, and the water, you know, is coming from here, from the same thing. So basically we need water, and we need to send a lot of exhaust, right? It's actually 2 pipes that are at 450, so it is pretty big for sure. But remember, this takes 480, so that's not bad. Like, we're totally fine. We are, sorry, not 450, this one is 900. I mean, it's not gonna be using 900, it's using something like 600 something for each of the belts. But then again, we're gonna basically transform it here into those exhaust scrubber with just a bit of limestone. Again, that's one of the few inputs, which anyway we need also for here. So that's easy, it helps, right? So we're gonna just use a bit of limestone and water. So a bit more water again. and we're gonna make some sulfur, some carbon dioxide, some slag. So the slag, you know, joins the rest of the slag over here. That's easy. It's actually this belt here. I didn't merge it with the other belt just so that it's easy for me to, you know, see what's happening. And last but not least, the steam load. So as I already said, the steam load we're gonna send into those thermal desalinator with a bit of seawater pump from this pump over here, right? It's gonna create a lot of water and some brine. The brine we just dump into the ocean over here because we really already have too much brine anyway and it doesn't pollute. The water on the other hand will go over here, right? To help with all of those productions, right? Help for this cooling over here and help for the exhaust scrubbers. These, then there is also, by the way, a pipe balancer over here where we can say this is the priority, but if ever you are full, which so far has never happened yet because we should be creating just a bit more of water, but we're actually using it into this mixer right now. So far we've never sent water into the ocean, but if we need to, we can over here. Then the carbon dioxide will go over here to create some graphite, right? So that's an easy one. And just in case, you know, it ever gets full, yes, you can go over here into the smokes large. And then the sulfur, right? We can follow it. It's this one here. It will go into a reserve there. So that way it can also tell me if it's ever full, but it should never be full because first, as I just mentioned, we can create some acid. I have 2 acid mixture over here, which will be used, you know, in things like copper, right? Refinement. But if ever this is full, then you can send it over here with another mixer that takes 60. So 60 is huge, right? Because this is only making 12. So when all 3 will be working at 100%, this is only 36 and this is taking 60. So that will be totally fine, right? It should never be full over here. With just a bit more of limestone, we're going to create some slag, which will then go directly into the slag, you know, bin, right? So again, there is no pollution at all created over here. This is all kind of perfect. So that was the first thing I wanted to do in the episode, and as you saw, you know, I've already built 4 over here, and that's obviously not enough, but that's a start. The other thing I wanted to do in the episode is, you know, here we used to have the second deposit of crude oil on the map. Now we've never really needed it, right? Because we just bring crude oil from here. But I was like, okay, it was a bit in the way of what I wanted to do. So I said, let's just put it in some storages and then I can always move the storages wherever I want into the future. So now we can delete basically this whole thing. And we have this. As I just showed, I have also, you know, created quite a bit of storage over here for my iron so that we can continue to dig this whole place here, because I definitely want to first make it to level 4, but after also try to empty the whole thing and fill it back up pretty quickly, right? So that's the idea over here. We're working hard. Next, a big one, like literally, look at this. We have the mega excavators. I have started the tier 3 vehicles. So how is that working? Well, first of all, we need a gigantic vehicle depot, right? This is, let's put it actually next to each other. This is the vehicle depot level 2, which was already pretty big compared to the vehicle depot level 1, right? So we had already grown quite a bit, but now this one is huge. And actually, while you could go from this one to that one by just upgrading, you are actually not able to upgrade that one. Look over here, there is no upgrade button. So let's delete this right now, you know, not needed anymore. But yeah, we build a huge one over here. We also do need, of course, to bring those vehicle parts level 3, right? Oh, and by the way, we should have a truck. Oh, here it is. The truck is coming. I think this is probably my first jump truck. So let's look at it together. Wow, magnificent. It says it has no compatible because he is linked, I guess, to here. Yeah, where that's fine. We can take him out and put him over. Are you big? No, you're small. So we can put him, actually I'm gonna put him nowhere because I think they're really good at, for example, taking, you know, when this is pretty full, right? There is like 2000. So they're pretty good at this. I can even assign potentially this truck over here, right? So we can see him come and grab a lot. What is it? 100, it's 160 if I remember correctly without the bonuses, but I think we have some bonuses going on. So let's look at it. Where are you? Look at the amount of trucks that are coming over here, which is again, oh, here it is. Which is again why, you know, I'm doing this, why I'm starting to upgrade my trucks, because the amount of resources I'm, you know, trying to transfer, and even if it's just dumping next door. So here it is, let's look at it. 234, wow, that is huge. And yeah, it's just gonna dump the whole thing into the sea. So yes, we have started to make, you know, those big dump. Now, as I said though in the last episode, you have to be very careful with this. It is fine in my opinion to upgrade all of your excavators to mega excavators, but you do need to remember that like we just saw, a mega, if you have only a big haul truck like this, they will not be able to work with those small excavators. So it's good to have big excavators to go with your big trucks. On the other hand, you don't want to upgrade all of your trucks to dump, either whole dump or the tank. I'll show you the tank just now, because only those trucks are capable of transporting everything that is a unit. A unit is the things, right, that you put on flat conveyors. All of the things that you put on flat conveyors, only the trucks can transport. On one side, we definitely cannot move all of these to the big ones. On the other side, when we get at this point, this is also when it starts to make even more sense to make sure that everything is connected with belts instead of having to move it with your trucks. Concrete example is, you know, we should try to link these there, to link these there. Try to link maybe, you know, the glass over here. Try to link maybe also these two outputs there, right, directly to the city. Now, it's not easy, but again, this is what you need to start trying to do at this point in the game, because you want to have less and less trucks going around for this, so that your trucks can focus on just terraforming the map like crazy like this. So that is what I'm going to do now a bit, and I'll see you in a minute. Oh no, sorry, I just realized I forgot to show you how we're making actually those vehicle parts level 3, right? Because as you can see, this is always needed. While the second things can be different depending on, you know, the truck, most of them do require, you know, the diesel. But if you look at the big excavator, they require steel, while the whole trunk tank or dump, they require actually rubber as the third thing. But yeah, you need vehicle parts, right? So those vehicle parts level 3 is pretty similar to what we did for over here, you know, the research is you're gonna need the vehicle part level 2, and you're gonna need some electronics level 2. So we already had our electronics over here, right? So we're just bringing it all the way there, and we obviously already had our vehicle parts level 2 over here. We're just bringing it there too. I did put Unity on it too, because, you know, this is only making 4 without Unity, so that wasn't really enough for my taste. You can see this is the limiting factor most of the time, so hopefully that will help a bit. Okay, a few minutes later, I'm not done yet, but I do want to show you my progress, because progress there has definitely been. Let's actually maybe start on this side, you know, and then we move over here and we see what has happened. So we have, for example, you know, the glass, right? This is providing a lot of glass. Now this glass is going to go onto this conveyor, goes all the way there. It's gonna split here. It's gonna split because we need some glass on this side, and we also need this glass on that side. Let's go first here. So you see, goes over here. Now I've tried to keep it as much as possible under ramps. So for now, I don't think we have any problems for, you know, any of my trucks. Sometimes there is some very high one, you know, at level 4 and 5, most of the truck can still pass, so not a problem. But again, trying to put it under those bridges as much as possible. So yeah, we have, as I said, the glass goes there. Now it's gonna go into this storage, and so now instead of having, you know, the truck trying to keep it full, I have said no truck can go there anymore. It's just this belt. Then we have the belt that continues there, actually goes under another of these ramps, right, and go into this one here. So same, I've made it, you know, that is blocked. The trucks cannot come anymore, but hopefully, you know, it's not gonna go empty. We do have the alert to tell me if it's empty. And then last but not least, as I said, right, the glass will also continue this side there. Now, before we go over there, let me show you what else is happening. Now we have some steel there, right? The steel, similarly, we're going to have, you know, this belt here. This used to be a belt level 2, now it's a tier 3. So that way we have a bit more. And so I've been able with this to send also a bit of steel this side. So the way, you know, the glass is going, we're also going to have a bit of steel going there. And we're also going to have actually a bit of these mechanical parts also going there. So a lot of things going over here, I'll show you a bit after. First, let's look on this side, what else is happening, right? We've seen the glass, but there is also this big belt of the electronics level 2. Because yeah, we're creating electronics level 2 over here, and we're gonna use it again in multiple places. We have a belt that goes over here into this unit storage, and actually I should have almost put a balancer, like this is really the priority. Maybe let's do that now, because this is quite important actually. I will re-explain in a second why, if you don't remember, but this is definitely a key point. Sorry, I should have done that before. So this is the priority. First, any electronics level 2 needs to go there, because this is for my maintenance, right? The maintenance should never be not working. So we want to make sure electronics level 2 gets there first. Similarly, there is then one that will go on this side with all of these guys, right? We should probably also have a balancer here. So about that, because again, this is for the maintenance, so we should be better safe than sorry. Okay, so that's one, but the other continues on this side, right? Then we'll go up, level 5, top level, we'll go into this unit storage over here that's used in particular for the household appliances, and it continues also on this side to go into this. I forgot to put that one as you know, no up, and this one, did I close it? Yes, good. So yes, it goes also on this side, right? Remember, this is used basically for the production, I think, of level tier 4, right? Tier 4. I did pause these guys. I don't remember why, but let's restart everybody. Let's restart everybody. Okay, so that was another one. But yeah, and it's not finished, you know, there's still some we need to do. For example, actually electronics level 1, it is, you know, belted to the maintenance, but it's not belted to this guy and that guy. So that's probably going to be the next one we do. But before, let me show you indeed that we're sending a lot of things on this side. Now this side is a complete mess, you know. This is not great. I said a couple of episodes ago that this was temporary, and since then I've kept it there, so it's not as temporary anymore, but it's definitely a mess. We're gonna need to rebuild it. But for now, the key thing is I've belted a lot, right? We can see, for example, the steel is belted to this unit storage there. Or we can see the mechanical parts and electronics level 1 have been belted to these two. So that way, you know, this is actually the start of the whole thing. So it is quite important. But yeah, we don't need any trucks anymore over here. We also do need the glass and the paper. Now, unfortunately, when I build this mess, as you can see, I blocked the entrance to those two guys. So we're definitely not gonna be able to use these two. Let's just delete them completely because they are in the way. But don't worry, what I've done is I've just belted directly into the belt there, so it shouldn't be a problem. Now, as soon as we unpause this, we should have all of these things restart. So that was right for the glass. You can see the glass is over here, right? Wait, what's happening over here? Oh, I deleted the wrong one. I want you to delete that one. and I deleted the one below. My bad. But yes, the glass is gonna go back inside, and this is this one here, right? So this is going to restart now. Perfect. Okay, and we also need the paper. The paper was actually coming very close by. I mean, it used to be all the way over here, but now it is just here, right? So we just, again, belted it directly into the belt. So it shouldn't be a problem at all either. And so yeah, I think over here, everything is fully belted except one, the wood over here. Wood is the only thing. Oh, and water here, there, sorry. Yeah, okay. We have also, by the way, finished all the ones that were planned. So let's go. We can see that my trucks are pretty busy. So it feels like we should just get a few more trucks upgraded into whole truck. Done. And at some point, yes, I know right now I'm building only diesel one. For sure, at some point we're gonna want to move to the hydrogen, but we're not there yet. We're not there yet. So yeah, that's good. A couple of these. I know I could also. Oh, this one actually wants to be a tank, right? This is for the fuel station, so that should be a tank. Okay, so that is done. And yeah, so as I said, now, right, we want to also build a bit more this guy. Then we have potentially plastic and silicon, even if they're coming from quite far. Here there is only the wood left, and then these two I want to also build over here. We also have, if we look there, I mean, these ones are coming from very far, so that's gonna be a bit harder. On the other hand, that guy we can probably build, it's all the way there, right? So it shouldn't be too hard. I just need, you know, a couple of these guys there. So one here maybe and one there. Shouldn't be too hard. Let's do it live actually. It's fine. I will leave, wait. No, let's just leave one space. We don't need to leave a lot more. But yeah, we will probably need to have you know, a belt here for that guy and another for that guy here. Okay, so as I said, we'll just build here, there, and done. Okay, so that, and I think it's a level 1, but should be totally fine. I don't think we're making that much per minute. And we can always upgrade it if we see it full. So again, we're gonna block it now. And please tell me if you're ever full, then I know that this is not fast enough. Okay, so let me work on these two and I'll see you when it's done. Okay, here it is, ladies and gents. As you can see, we have both the appliances and the household goods. They're crossing over here and they're delivering into both of these. I did have to upgrade this one to level 2, so that has been done. But yeah, this is working, and same for my electronics. You have this new one there that is not the priority. Obviously, maintenance is the priority. It goes over here, and then it also goes on this side there. So yeah, we have connected now many of these. You know, there's just a couple that are not connected, like the wood over here, the concrete. Here we have just the wood, and here we have plastic and the poly. But more importantly, I think it's time to talk about the real big thing of this episode, our first train. Because, you know, I talked about connecting a few things here, but the reality is most of my truck were not transporting this, or most of my unit trucks, let's say, were not transporting this. They were transporting food, right? They were transporting food to all of those things here. So now we need to make sure we have a train to bring it here. So some of them, by the way, as you can see, are starting to be empty. Oh no, there's still a few there, okay. Here, this one also still has a few, okay. You still have a lot. Actually, I guess we're gonna need to pause all of these, otherwise they're never going to empty the other ones. But yes, spoiler alert, we have a train here. And the funny thing is, it's gonna be both the most simplest train and the most complex train, probably. So let me show you what I mean. We're gonna go, you know, oh, and here is the train, by the way. So we're gonna go at the start of the train. The start of the train is here. We used to have, you know, all of these, Now to get, you know, quickly into one train station, I've put them all together next to each other, right? So we have all of these coming here, and now of course I've also blocked these. And because here we need a couple of small things, I did have to put also a small ramp. But yeah, this is gonna be the station. So how do you create a station? Well, first you need to put this, a train station. This is kind of the beginning of your train station. Then you're gonna need to put modules. It can be a combination of, you know, it can be just one module, it can be a combination of different modules. In this case, for example, here you can see we have some loose stations, right? And some unit stations. Then you can have also some empty stations, right? And if you want, you could also have refueling directly in your first station, but it doesn't have to be. You know, you don't have to have refueling in all of your station. You can have refueling in only one. You can have refueling in a different station. So in this case here, I did put the refueling station over here. And in this case, by the way, we're doing already an hydrogen train. I went directly into hydrogen to try to not pollute with this. And this is why we have this hydrogen production over here using, you know, just water coming from here. I did not put a warning there, so we should definitely put a warning. And yeah, I haven't really checked, you know, what is gonna be my consumption of, like, is that enough or not? But we'll see it. We'll see it. So this is what you start. You know, you put a train station, you put some modules, and that's it. You don't need to put another one at the end. Just one is kind of enough. And then of course you're gonna need to put some tracks, right? So you're gonna have tracks before, you're gonna have tracks after. Now in Captain of Industry, the trains are both, again, very simple and very complex. They're very simple because they're going to manage, you know, you don't need to put, as you can see, there is no kind of signals or anything, right? They're going to manage kind of collision on their own. But that means you have also a lot of options. For example, you can set direction, you can set no stop, exclusive no, like there's a lot of things you can do. At the same time, also your trains, you know, they can go front, they can reverse, they won't have the same speed when they reverse, but they can do it. They can do a lot of things. Similarly, as I said, this is a very simple train because what I've done is that I have the exact same number of wagons than the number of stations. And I have also put kind of a filter. If you look over here, each of them can only take the specific thing they are located to. So that makes it very simple in the sense that basically, you know, as you can see, the train stops, it gets full, and then it goes and it continues. But you don't have to do this. You know what if you want, for example, let's assume I want to create, oh, and by the way, I also did create over here a belt for the copper to go directly there. And now I'm destroying a bit of the mountain here where there's not really a lot of copper, so that's why this is empty, but it's fine, we can fix it later. But what I wanted to say is, I mean, let's do it maybe somewhere else, like here. Let's assume I want to create a train for my iron. What I can do is actually have only one of these, and then I can still have a train that can be, you know, 10 wagons. And what's going to happen is that the train is going to stop, fill one wagon, then advance one tile, fill the second wagon, then advance one tile again, fill the third, advance again, fill the fourth, right? And then my 10 wagons will go all the way, you know, for example here, and they will, you know, empty one at a time. So you don't have to match, you know, the number like I did, but you can if you want, because that can make it like very simple, especially when there's many different types of food, right? Now, what I've done too, again, over here, and you don't have to do it, but I wanted to do it, is to set a direction. So just by clicking on it, you know, you can change the direction, you can make it multi, like both directions. In this case, again, I wanted to set the direction with a loop like this to make it very simple. Loop again over here, but you don't have to. You could also just send it back in bi-directional. And now, as you can see, they're just emptying all of the resources. The resources are being delivered there, and I'm pretty sure this is now basically full-ish. Yeah, and there's maybe some here too. Now you can not put a warning on this one, but you can actually use kind of is this empty or not to do some requests. You know, again, this is both simple and pretty complex, to be honest. Even on the whole train, you know, I can decide when it's gonna go. So what we're gonna do is create a line. You know, I created a line, I called it food one. I assign a train to it, of course, over here, right? I assign a train, and then I said, go when you're full of all of the products. But you could also do very different, you know, kind of settings. I'm not gonna go in this first episode into all of the settings for trains. I just wanted to show you that there are a lot of very complex settings. Now, how are we doing on this one? We can see that we are empty on corn and potato. So let's restart those two before we have a famine. What else? We are also empty on bread, so that's great. We're not empty on tofu, we're empty on snack. And here it is, ladies and gents, a few minutes later, and you can see that my train is still going from time to time, and basically as soon as it's full, it's going. So that's obviously not the best, right? I'm consuming hydrogen a bit for nothing. So that is not the most advanced and best, you know, place we could do. By the way, of course, I've put some crossings here and there, so my trucks can actually cross if and when they want, because they will want to do that from time to time for sure. But yeah, this is all full. The only one that's paused right now is the tofu, because we still have a bit of tofu there. But then when this is done, I can take it out. And by the way, you know, again, like I said, this is the simplest and the most complex in a sense at the same time. You can, of course, have multiple trains going on the same. It could be two trains that do food. It could also be in the future a train that use the same line, but instead of going, you know, left, goes right, for example, to deliver in the future, all of those things, right? That could definitely be the case. Now, hopefully with this, we're gonna have a lot less problems of too many trucks, you know, transporting things. And by the way, you can click on your trucks there to see in statistic, right, to see what most of your trucks are doing. So we can see, for example, that right now a lot of my trucks have been delivering rocks. I think it's mostly, you know, over here, over there, right? We're doing a lot of mining, and they need to put these resources somewhere. We can see that indeed now in terms of units, there is a lot less than before. There's still a bit of steel, a bit of medical supply, plastic, but really not that much, right? It is mostly focusing now on these guys, where we've already started to do better, right? For example, this is gonna help a lot. We could start doing the same on this side, right? To belt it in a sense over here. And potentially even there, you know, we've been dropping a lot like this. We could potentially do it better. I do see that we have a bit of a problem with limestone. If you look over here, this is almost empty. This one is fully empty. So yeah, limestone, you know, I don't think we're digging limestone quickly enough, or maybe also not sorting it quickly enough. So we're gonna need to fix this. And we also see that we have a problem with the recyclables there. Oh no, it's not a problem per se. It's, remember, I had blocked that one actually. I had blocked it so that we can see that at some point, yeah, I'm starting to get, you know, retired waste. Because in, I think it was 2 episodes ago, we were at more than 700, and we're obviously continuing to use the whole thing. So the only way, you know, this has gone down is because some of the fission product has been transformed into retired waste, which then goes here, right, to be shredded into recyclables. But yeah, let's make sure, right, that we fix a bit this, that we fix the concrete, the limestone. I think that's one of these. You know, we can see over here that obviously this production here is working really well. This is full, but this is very far from the whole thing here where we're using this, right? So we either need to start migrating some of this over here, which probably is not a good idea because we don't have the copper yet, or we maybe need to build it or have another train that potentially brings it somewhere here, right? But yeah, here it is, ladies and gents. You can see my first train with the train station over here. Needs to be big enough to be able to create a long train like this. Don't hesitate to tell me in the comments below if you have any questions or requests, and I hope to see you soon for our next episode.